So you want to get rich in Starfield. In this video, I'm going to show you how to become a millionaire in game. I'm going to be showing you a variety of different methods of generating credits. And the way this video is formatted is things will get increasingly profitable, but also increasingly illegitimate. We'll begin with some very legit and noble ways to make some money, and towards the end, we're just getting completely outlandish into exploits to make literal millions of credits if you want to. And even as I was filming this video, I think I found the best money-making method in Starfield available right now. But it honestly gets even a bit better because I'm also going to help you protect your money. That with today's video sponsor, Ridge. The Ridge wallet is incredible. Holding 12 cards and cash, it has everything you need, and it just got a bit smarter. Ridge's new smart wallet solution is this incredibly handy AirTag attachment for your wallet. This will combine with either a cash strap or money clip to make sure you never lose your wallet again. And as you're seeing here, there's even a version with a carbon fiber cap for a far more sophisticated look. And with this, you'll be able to use the Find My network so you'll always know where your wallet is. And the beauty of this is your wallet is still super slim and sleek. And right now is the perfect time to buy. Ridge is currently running a summer sweepstakes with a chance to win a new upgraded Hennessy Ford Bronco or 75,000 cash if you prefer that. I'm definitely taking the car though. And it gets even better because if you go to ridge.com/JuiceHead or use code JuiceHead, you'll even get 10 bonus entries into the sweepstakes and 10% off your order. I mean, hey, maybe you're gonna get a cool wallet and a cool car. Kind of hard to beat that. So just right off the bat, one of the simplest and easiest ways to generate extra cash in Starfield is your trait. Take one of the 3 faction traits right at the start of the game as you're building your character, and as you do that faction questline, you will get thousands of extra credits for just beating the same quests you're probably gonna beat anyway. It's a super simple way to make some more money, but considering most of you probably already made your character, I do have some far more lucrative methods. One pretty straightforward method that almost certainly won't be patched out is outpost building. And specifically, there's one mechanic around outpost building that makes it so things can get ridiculously overpowered with just a bit of time investment. And the nice part about this method is you could pretty much do it right from the start of the game. So if you just got Starfield today, you can do this. Outposts in Starfield will of course produce resources. When you scan a planet, of course, a bunch of resources are shown to you. But for some of the more rare resources, it actually won't pop up on this scan. Instead, you're going to have to wander around the planet with your scanner out looking for those specific resources and really veins of them in the ground. Like here, I found some neon I can extract. And you can really bootstrap this, begin it on the cheap side. Simply put down an extractor, some power generation, as well as some storage. Make sure you actually link up your extractor to your storage, and you're going to be good to go, passively generating resources as you play the game. But you'll immediately realize, oh, these resources are produced incredibly slowly. One great way to just speed this up instantly is with a bed. Place down a bed and sleep for 24 hours, and the time passed as you're sleeping will count for resource generation here. So you'll notice a decent stack of resources waiting for you right as you wake up. But even this will only net you a couple hundred credits at most. We simply need more time to pass to get more resources to sell. Well, one of the other very powerful aspects of Outposts is time dilation is taken into account. So instead of sleeping on Washaki, where my neon extractor is, I could fly over to the Sol system, which is right nearby, and specifically land on Venus. And one sleep on Venus is the equivalent of 100 days of time passing on other planets due to the time dilation on Venus. Time moves more quickly on this planet, so sleeping for 24 hours here is like sleeping for 100 days on Washaki. And then you can return to your outpost to find now hundreds of resources waiting for you. And this is the real key to making money with outpost building in Starfield. Finding a planet with good time dilation and basically just generating tons of resources to sell. Venus has the best time dilation I've found thus far, but there definitely could be other better planets out there. Over time, you can naturally scale up your operation, build additional extractors. The next limiting factor will be your storage space for the resources being gathered. But the real beauty of this is, if you keep it simple, all the things you're building here require no skills and are built with very cheap resources. So you can have this entire operation set up, just like I do, for just a few thousand credits, which in the world of Starfield is really not that much. Then simply fly back over to Venus, let some time pass, generate thousands of resources, and pick them up and sell them. This part becomes a lot easier if you have a ship with a ton of cargo space, so you can just go to vendors and sell from your ship's cargo, never even having to touch the dirty resources yourself. But alternatively, you could just pick up the resources in your own inventory and be ridiculously over encumbered. The only places you're actually walking are to your ship and a few vendors, and it's not like it really matters too much. You won't ever die from encumbrance, your health will just get low. I personally set up a neon neon outpost and a silver mine, and after sleeping for 24 hours on Venus, I was able to sell all of the materials gathered for around 15,000 credits per run. The larger issue being, vendors don't have that many credits. The Trade Authority has 11,000 and most of the other vendors have 5,000 or some even a bit less. But thankfully, if you do sleep for 48 hours, you can reset vendor inventories and reset the credits they have and just rinse and repeat. Or even alternatively, just buy a bunch of things from the vendor first and then do the trade and they'll have a bunch of additional credits. Congrats, now you have free items for life, at least at some vendors. And what makes this method really nice is it's only the initial setup that takes a while. After you have the extractors and storage built, just show up whenever you want. A few sleeps and fast travels later, you'll be tens of thousands of credits richer, and you could do this endlessly. No skills required, and you could basically do this right at the start of the game. But maybe all of that passive income generation sounds incredibly boring and tedious. Alternatively, a super fun way to make money with a bit more work is just being a space pirate farming contraband. And this too has a couple of hidden mechanics to make it even more lucrative. The key to this one is taking Crimson Fleet ship bounties. You can find these either in regular mission boards, like this one you could find here in Sidonia, or after you do begin the Freestar Collective questline, you could gain access to their mission board, which is here in the core in Aquila City. The bounties you're going to want to take here are for Crimson Fleet captains or fleets. You need an actual spaceship to hunt down, not just a person, as well as you're going to need the first rank of the targeting control skill to do this effectively. What you want to do is, as soon as you're near one of the Crimson Fleet ships, simply target its engines and disable them. Board the ship as soon as it's possible. You'll see a little prompt appear in the targeting mode when it's available. On some of these missions, this may be a bit hard just due to the level of enemy you're up against, but once you're on board, simply clear through the remaining crew and you'll likely find several pieces of contraband on board. They're going to appear in these little briefcases, and they're almost always going to be on Crimson Fleet ships. The contraband is the main way we're going to be making money, but you could of course loot anything else here, including the ship itself. I mean, hey, if you just really want to maximize value, may as well just straight up steal their ship too. Selling this captured ship is going to be pretty straightforward. Just bring it to the ship services technician at some of the major cities, and you can sell the ship there after registering it. And make sure you compare these two numbers. When you go to register the ship, it'll cost you a certain amount of money. You have to do this to be able to sell it. If the price to register it is higher than the sale price, don't do that because of course you'll lose money. You want this number to be higher than this number, and that's how much profit you're going to make, the difference between those two numbers. Most of the time it's just a couple thousand credits. And the real money comes from selling contraband. If you want to smuggle this past scanners at major cities, you're going to need shielded cargo or a jammer. These can be purchased at the Red Mile from this dude who is right next to the entrance. You can find Red Mile on this planet in the Prima system. It's incredibly easy to access, and you go here for one of the Freestar Collective quests early on anyway. Once you do have your shielded cargo, which you can attach to your ship, or even a jammer, you can sell your goods for a profit at any trade authority. Although, make sure you actually transfer the contraband to the cargo hold of your ship. Shielded cargo only counts if it's in the cargo hold. The contraband being in your inventory will not work. You'll just get a bounty. But alternatively, maybe you don't want to deal with any of that. And if you don't, you can just go to the Den. This is a station in the Wolf system, which is pretty close to all of the other major systems. Here, there is no contraband check. You don't have to get scanned before going in. So at any point, just simply show up with your contraband and you could sell them to the trade authority here. And basically just rinse and repeat. Take more bounties for Crimson Fleet ships and farm contraband over time. You could even get a bit more value out of this by changing the difficulty of the game right before you board the ship. Higher difficulties change scaling and loot drops. So after you've disabled their engines and you're attached to the ship, basically set the game to very hard, and as you load onto the ship, you'll find better loot on the enemies. And after loading onto the ship, you could even set things back to very easy if you want to, although you'll have to live with yourself for doing that. And over time, this can net you tens of thousands of credits per trip. The real issue here is going to be, once again, the vendors are going to run out of money, and you're going to have to wait for 48 hours pretty often to get them to restock. But then what I think is probably the single best and mostly legit farming method in-game right now is with the Almagest. There's going to be a pretty cool space casino in Starfield. It'll be in the Olympus system, orbiting a planet named Nisoi, also near most of the other major systems. The first time you dock here, you'll find a now abandoned zero-gravity casino, although it's going to be filled with spacers who are trying to raid it. Simply clear out the spacers and you'll be able to find some goodies inside. Next to this giant vault door is a small back room. There's going to be a lottery terminal in there, and you can find the winning numbers to this terminal on a manager's terminal at about mid-level in the casino, but honestly, it'll just give you a couple thousand credits. It's not really that big of a deal, because what we really want is right next to that lottery terminal, as there is a contraband contraband case here. This will typically have about 10 pieces of contraband within. This is great, probably around 10,000 credits or more right here sitting in this chest. But where this method goes from great to absolutely insane is when you realize you can actually reload this container. The problem is it's going to take a while, like over a week of waiting for the container to reset. But the solution is a familiar one. Simply travel back down to Venus where time moves more quickly, wait for just 24 hours, and return to collect 10 more pieces of contraband every single time. The trick being you need to abuse time dilation to make this method efficient. I did this a few times and you can get tens of thousands of credits worth of contraband in like 20 minutes of effort. And you can do this right from the very start of the game. As soon as you get your first ship, all you need to do is fly a few places, but otherwise no setup is required here, as long as you're selling your contraband at the den. The big problem here is going to be how much waiting you'll have to do for vendors to reset their credits. You're getting so much contraband using this method that you hit the 11,000 credits so quickly, but if you're patient, you can very easily make hundreds of thousands of credits doing this. So yeah, for just broad ease of use, from what point in the game you can do this, I really think this is probably the best exploit in Starfield right now. It'll almost certainly be patched though, but maybe all of that's a bit too small scale for you. Contraband and dealing with middlemen is just not your style. You want cold hard credits fast. But it can also just be a mobile bank robber. In the space above most of the major cities in Starfield, you're able to find a Galbank ship, sometimes even more than one, and naturally these are going to be carrying quite a few credits on them. And there's going to be a unique mechanic, or really a bug we're abusing to get the credits from these with ease. What you're going to want to do is get up real close behind a Galbank ship, and make sure you're not in United Colonies territory, so I prefer to do this outside of Aquila City or outside of Neon. Simply use the targeting system, and yes, you need the targeting system unlocked to use this, to begin attacking that ship, and for some reason, if you're close enough to the ship and you begin combat with this targeting system, none of the other ships around you will care. You can freely attack the Galbank ship, and there's going to be no bounty or no other ships joining the fight. After combat begins, you don't even have to use the targeting mode anymore. You can just freely fire on the ship, and nobody else is going to bother you, except maybe another Galbank ship. Occasionally, another Galbank ship will be around and they'll join the fight, but honestly, this is a good thing. If you could take on 2 ships at once, you're just getting more free money, because what you're going to quickly discover is each of these ships, depending on their size, will carry between 4 and 10,000 credits. So just loot the wreckage after the fact and you'll typically find a few more valuable materials, most often building supplies, and also several thousand credits. And the magic of this is these are credits. It's not something you have to go to a vendor to sell, just cold hard credits that you can deposit into your inventory right now. So using this method, I would just dart back and forth between Aquila and Neon, and most times after jumping, if you go to your right, you'll immediately see a Galbank ship flying off. Get behind them, take them out, and easy profit consistently. And I found the key here is getting close. If you're too far away, other ships will aggro against you, and if you do attempt to do this in United Colonies space, other United Colonies ships will come in as reinforcements, making it just a lot more annoying. As well as docking the ship won't work, because if you do dock it and then take out the enemies, you will get a bounty. And honestly, this too is one of the best farming methods. I think particularly in the mid to late games, this is probably one of the easiest and most profitable. You're getting credits from this, so there's no need to deal with sitting around and waiting over and over again. And it's also just kind of fun. You're engaging in ship combat. It actually makes you want to upgrade and enhance your own ship, which otherwise I didn't really care about. The major drawback, of course, is you need to fight others. It's not passive, and yeah, you can set the game to very easy to make these fights relatively okay, but at a decently high level, some of the enemy ships will become a bit tougher. But this is another one that is almost certainly going to get patched out, so if you want to abuse this, abuse it now before some of the major updates start shipping. So those were the mostly above the board ways to farm credits in Starfield, with the remaining methods in this video really resorting to bugs and exploiting, and will certainly be patched out, probably be some of the first methods to be patched out. With these next 2 exploits being doable on all platforms, but more console specific and involve glitching under the map to farm resources en masse. One location you can do this at is Neon. Here you're going to need a jetpack, and with Neon especially, a power jetpack will be most helpful, but a balanced jetpack will work as well. Right after entering into Neon's core, go to the Trade Authority building off to the side. Here you're going to need to jump on top of the outside of the building and basically try and get on top of these industrial placements. To the side you'll see a small ledge, you could jump on that, and your next task will be jetpacking up to this higher ledge above above you. Particularly here, the power jetpack is handy as you can easily do it in just one shot, but a balanced jetpack works as well. From there, simply get across the way over to the windowed building and climb on top of it. Then you're going to need to climb over this secondary ledge and continue along the windowed building's walkway until you run all the way up to this second building, and you'll once again need to jetpack to the top here. And you're going to really want to focus on getting onto the left side, as that's where you're going to need to go. But once on top, just run along this black pathway on the left side of the roof of this building and you're largely good from here. Once you get to the end, simply drop down and make sure you use the jetpack to break your fall, and you'll find you are actually under Neon now. You'll see a bunch of chests floating under the map, and what these are is the above vendor's inventory. So you can freely access these chests to get weapons, credits, and even some clothing items. Some of the chests you're able to reach from the ledge, while some others you're going to need to jetpack over to, but don't worry if you do this because there is a secondary floor under you if you do fall. You won't fall through the map and you can easily just jetpack back up to the other ledge you were on previously. Take whatever you want from these chests and you're basically good. You can then go and talk to these vendors and even sell them some of the items you just stole from their inventories, and you can repeat this method over and over by just resetting the vendors' inventories by waiting 48 hours. Although, an important disclaimer, you have to actually talk to the vendors and open the shop menu for their inventories to reset. It's a quirk since you're stealing directly from their inventory, you'll have to open their inventory again before waiting for 48 hours to reset it. With this method, you can make a decent amount of money with relative ease, probably making around 10,000 credits or so for each run, especially if you are selling some of the items you do get from these vendors. But a far more lucrative version of this exists also in New Atlantis, but it's a bit more tedious. You'll need the same thing with a balanced or powered jetpack, and of course the skill to use said jetpack. Travel to the commercial district in New Atlantis and immediately run off to the right side of this building. Your immediate goal here is to get across onto the grassy tree side. So you basically just want to use your jetpack and scale the buildings, crossing the gap and hopefully not dying. I would definitely make some quick saves along the way as you're doing this. The New Atlantis version of this exploit is definitely easier to mess up as you're doing it. And once you're across and over, head over to these two white ledges towards the end. You're going to want to make your way to the furthest of the two ledges. And here you're going to want to drop down onto the stone area below you. And as you work your way through, there is a second stone ledge beneath the first one. Gracefully fall onto the second one, and you basically want to slide through this little crevice here. And see that wall ahead of you? Your goal is to get under the wall. Thus far, all of this has been pretty easy, but once you're down in this new under the map section, you have to actually get to the city part with some of the vendors and those chests again. So work your way under this other wall and into the watery section ahead. And after going under, you'll basically just hug this stone wall up to the corner and try to work your way up and around it. What you're going to discover is there's actually invisible water here. So follow my path, swimming in the water, and be relatively quick, as eventually you will start drowning because you are underwater. Make sure you have a couple of healing items ready, as you definitely can die while doing this. And you're going to want to swim up and past this waterfall and work your way to the other side. Right at the end, you'll find another small crevice, which you will fall into as you fall out of the invisible water. So make sure you actually break your fall here. There's going to be another ledge directly in front of you, and here it's pretty straightforward. Basically just get over that ledge and fall back down onto the ledge under it. You'll once again want to cross under this wall and building, but then you basically just need to climb up this rock wall. It almost looks impossible, but it is doable, especially with the help of your jetpack, as well as there's a couple of grab spots you'll latch onto. It's fairly finicky, but you just need to work at it. It took me a couple of tries. And once you make it a decent way up the wall, look off to your left side and you'll see where the rock wall meets this white wall. You can simply jump through that, and congrats, you did it. You're now under New Atlantis, and very similar to the Neon exploit, you can now access a variety of vendor inventories thanks to these little chests scattered all below. This area is going to be far larger, so you can wander quite extensively. Make some quick saves in case you accidentally jump out. And although there's a bunch of chests you can loot, the most important one is going to be the ship vendor chest, and this will typically contain 72,000 credits. The first time mine had less, as I just sold some ships to this vendor. And here's where the New Atlantis version of this exploit becomes far more powerful. Getting to this point is annoying, but with practice, you can likely do this with relative ease. Most of the vendors here will reset their inventories in 48 hours of waiting. Just make sure you talk to them and open up that shop menu just like a Neon. But the ship vendor will take longer to reset. 48 hours will do nothing. But if you fly to Venus again and wait 24 hours there, the vendor's credits will reset. So you can basically farm the ship vendor for 72,000 credits as many times as you want to. You can fly to Venus over and over again, just make sure you talk to the vendor and open his trade menu in between. But you could also buy spaceships from this vendor, and all of the credits you spend with him will be deposited into the chest. And you can loot all of those credits back after, basically just getting a bunch of spaceships for free, making this one of the strongest money exploits in the game right now, pretty easily netting you hundreds of thousands of credits per hour. But this is another one that's almost certainly getting removed with a relatively early patch, so make sure you take advantage of it now. And if all of that seemed like way too much work for you and you're on PC, you could also just use a console command. Simply download the mod to enable achievements when modding or using console commands. There's a couple of options out there right now. Then type in player.add item, and then all of these zeros and one F at the end, and then a space and whatever number for the number of credits you want, and congrats, you are now adding thousands or even millions of credits to your inventory, and you could keep achievements as you do so. It really is that simple if you're a PC player and just want to cheat. And those are some of the best money making methods I've found thus far in Starfield. If you want some more tips on the game, check out this video I recently posted highlighting some of the secret features or mechanics in Starfield that the game never really introduces to you.